This is a Guide Your Light network production, creating podcasts with purpose.
Hey, Kiani.
Yeah.
Have you ever found in your journey of business that you've sort of really struggled to bring your personal life and your business life together?
Yeah, constantly. I feel like that's probably the biggest challenge that I've faced, not only as a business owner, but as a female, as a parent, as a human, as a partner. They always tend to clash.
I reckon we have some conversations, bring in some guests and talk about humanising business, because if we do that, then maybe we can be the same person 24/7.
Yeah, let's shed some light on this topic that can be quite convoluted and make it somewhat more simple.
I reckon that sounds cool, because after all, business is life and life is business. Welcome back. Humanising Business with Andy and Kiani. Kiani, how are you today?
Well done. I'm so proud that you didn't mumble up the name like I did.
I stuttered, but anyway, how are things?
I'm good. Life is a roller coaster, as we know, but the sun is shining. I'm smiling. That's kind of all that matters. How are you?
And she is smiling, gang. She isn't lying. She's got a big smile on her face, which is always a good start. I'm good. I'm really, really good. Doing a lot more travel recently, which has been a bit of a test on the old energy reserves, but it's been great. It's been really, really good. So been meeting a lot of new people from different organizations and having some fun, man. Like, I don't know, just injecting some fun into my industry. Everyone seems to be very doom and gloom at the minute. Yeah. So I've been bouncing around, causing some chaos, which appears to be going down quite well. So
how lucky are they to get your energy in a room, face to face? I want that. Come back to Queensland.
Well, in a couple of weeks it will.
You're coming up, but I'm coming back down soon for a little bit. So
yes,
I get work.
Indeed. Now, I want to talk about something that we've sort of touched on it in our social media a little bit, just with regards to, looking ahead to the future and how we can really set goals and all of those sorts of things, right? But in order for us to be able to look ahead, I do feel, and I wasn't a believer in this for a long time, I do feel that we need to be able to reflect back on how we've got to this point and really make sure that we're taking heed of the various warnings and lessons and balls ups and various and successes in seeing how that they shape us moving forward. And Kiani, both personally and professionally, I know that you've had a whole stack of events go on at both ends of the spectrum, right? You've had some crazy success and some crazy bad times as well. And I would love to know, and I'm pretty confident that a lot of people that are listening would really like to know, how does someone that is running a super successful business, that is dancing around for a charity, that is dunking herself in ice baths, that is sitting on a beach meditating and drinking hot chocolate and all this sort of stuff, how is it that someone that's got so many layers to them has got to this point, right? Have you ever thought, or have you ever wondered, like, what were the super significant events, be it personal or business, that have contributed towards who you are and how you roll today?
Yes, I definitely have, multiple times and in a lot of different ways too. I don't know if there's really one way better than any others. The long and tedious way is to get a therapist, or I use a transformational therapist who goes down the psychological route. But the cool thing that I did to help me kind of move past the fact that I felt like my life was a movie and I was just a character in it, which when I sat down, and I did this as an exercise when I started with my speaking coach, was I sat down and I wrote my life story. And it was based on from birth through to and at key milestones at key ages. And then looking at those experiences, I had to deliver that, which brought up a lot of emotion and a lot of memories that I blocked and things like that. But being able to really sit and look at the key timelines, the ages, the scenarios, who was involved, what my involvement was, and then sit back almost as an observer. So go back to that kind of movie scene feeling of it and go, wow, connect the dots. What happened back then gave me, and look, some of the times, yes, it was a really horrible incident. However, from that, it taught me to be courageous, or it taught me to be really vigilant when I'm on my own, or it taught me independence, or there's always something that can be taken from a bad situation that gives you skills to assist you in future situations. And then the other really cool exercise that I did 2 years ago now was I had to sit and write my own eulogy.
Okay.
That was really cool. It was really horrifying at the time, and quite emotional, because there was a part of me that was like, oh, is this how I actually am? Someone else would describe me, or is this who I wish to be? And so that gave me a really cool opportunity to be like, all right, I'm going to write it. I'm going to write two. I'm going to write one in who I am now, and then one in who I wish to be. And so that gave me a little bit of framework to be able to look at the life that I had lived, the impact that I had made from another person's perspective, because while you're writing your own, someone else is delivering it. And then be able to look at it and go, okay, so if I'm here now and I was to pass in, say, 20 years, what are some attributes that I'm not quite there yet, or would like to invite in, or how do I want to be remembered if I have an opportunity to change that?
That's mad. That's a really mad observation that I think would be an incredible exercise for lots of people to do. So whenever we talk about our own mortality, it's generally seen as not cool, right? Understandably.
Yeah.
But the way that you have used your own mortality to review your trip to now, there's all sorts of different reflection exercises, right? There's loads of them, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of ways that you can reflect on who you are and how you've been and blah, blah, blah. But I think that's probably one of the simplest yet most effective ones that I've ever heard of, because it makes it ultimate. It's like the ultimate finite resolution, right? You die, that's it, you're done. That's it, tapped out. And I think to be able to reflect on what your eulogy would be now, and then really get yourself engulfed in that sense of death, your body and your mind will start to really go, shit, what do I actually want it to be?
Yeah.
And then from there, did you, and we'll go a bit more businessy in a minute, but
that can be really confronting just as a process.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, word of warning, be careful.
Yeah. Am I actually the person that I think I am?
Yeah.
That I need to be, the parent that I need to be, the partner that I need to be. It took me about 3 hours to write it, and it was only one page. So I do give a little warning out there that if you are going to undertake this exercise, which I would strongly recommend you do, give yourself space to do it, because there is pain in it, because sometimes we aren't where we think we are or where we want to be. But the beauty in it, we are not dead yet, and we can make changes. And as you said, Andy, there's something in our psyche and in our body that clings to this. So a lot of people, you'll hear a lot of these remarkable stories come from a near-death experience, or someone who got so sick and ended up in hospital and then decided to fight for life and things like that. I've seen and heard and personally experienced some incredible transformations that friends of mine have made purely from sitting in this exercise and going, right, this is who I want to be. This is how I want to be remembered. and I'm not dead yet. I've got another 50 years of living. I can make a change. And sometimes that's all they need. And all of a sudden it's dramatic changes, but
Huge.
it can be quite confronting.
So then when you did the second one where you were writing the one for 20 years time, did you then, once you had done that, did you then go back, review, and then pick the key things that you really needed to focus on and build a plan around that? Or how did you use it moving forward from there?
It was really interesting, actually, because the first one was around like key life events and successes and milestones and children and, you know, the things that make me who I am now. The next one, there were I want to leave a legacy behind. And so there was talk of a legacy, but the language in the second one, because those physical events didn't seem to matter as much. It was the who and how I left people feeling and how I portrayed myself and how I turned up every day and the giving back that I was able to do and almost that footprint in the world that I was able to leave based on the things that I had done. But it wasn't so much about the things. It was who, from a feeling or an emotive perspective, how do I want people to think of me when I'm good? If they were to describe my life, how would I have left them feeling? So it was a really different experience as well. And that for me was something that landed so deeply in my body that at times I'll do something, I've got to say something and be like, oh, that's not how I wish to be remembered or portrayed or thought of. And it's kind of changed my direction that way. But also too, from a practical perspective, there are definitely things that I've said no to off the back of doing this because I know that that's not in alignment with who I want to be.
And that's a really super important lesson, because especially if we transition into business a little bit now, or you can leave it in life a little bit, I guess. We've got to be super careful. It doesn't matter how much of a capacity we think we've got. We've all got a limit, and I can't believe I've just said that. Like, we've all got a limit. It's taken me a long time to work that bastard out. Anyway, and I think that once we understand that we have only got so much room in our jar, then we might, we become a little bit less blasé about the stuff that we take on, whether it is life or business or whatever it is, whether it's something little. And that's one thing that trips me up sometimes, right? Is that I'm quick to take on small things, right? Because I just think it's easy. I mean, yeah, no problem. It's a bit like spending money. I'm really good at not spending money on big things, but I'm really shit when it comes to spending little bits of money lots of times.
Spend $10 10 times in a heartbeat, but spending $100, you've got to think about it.
Yeah, 100, yeah, absolutely. And I think when it comes to this whole thing of knowing where we've come from in order to know how to go forward, I think that's probably one of the most critical bits, is looking back and learning at the stuff that's kind of acted like a bit of an anchor around your business or your life or your time or whatever it is.
And you and I had a beautiful conversation about this not long ago, and it was around sometimes we've got to let go of things as well.
Yeah.
As you said, we've all got a cup that's only got so much to fill in it. And there are some times when we do need to take a really big look at our lives and say, is that serving me? Do I have space for this? Where is my attention going? Is there something that I do need to let go? And it may not be letting go forever, but it may be letting go for a period in time to pick it up when you do have space or you do have attention to give it 100%. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're losing something or less than. It's, no, I'm choosing me for this minute so that I have more capacity to give everything else what it needs. So sometimes we don't realize how much we've taken on. So looking at the past, leading into what we've taken on, and then going right in the future, especially when talk about service and business, it's so easy to just quickly say yes.
Yeah.
It's so easy. But then we say yes 15 times and all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, now I can't do what I need to do. I've got to figure out the limit. And that is a constant dance. That line will always change. That line also changes based on how we're feeling, how we wake up in the morning. Some mornings I wake up and I'm like, I am not doing life today. One bad phone call and I'm like, right, tapping out, see you later, I'm done. And then other days, that phone call, exactly the same, I meet it with such a different perspective and I have so much space and I want to help that person and I see their stresses. It's not about me. So it really does depend where we're at as well. And, you know, we've had an episode about this. Life's not linear. You're not made of Teflon. So you've got to flow through life. But really sitting down and taking a look under the hood to see what you find that you've taken on in the past that may not serve you for the future is a really nice way. You know, analogy it, right? When we move house, I don't know about you, but I tend to throw a lot of shit out. There's boxes that I haven't looked at. Obviously, kids stuff has to keep it, which I'm terrible at doing, but we have to keep the kids separate, sentimental stuff. But every time I move house, I chuck so much stuff out because I'm like, right, cleanse. This is a clean slate. Let's start again.
Yeah.
We don't have to move house. We don't have to have a near-death experience. We don't have to have some giant catastrophic event happen in our lives. We can just simply decide to sit, put it all bare, write a timeline, have a look at the things that affected your life, realize what's impacting you, have a look at where you're spending your time, and then go, right, who do I want to be? How do I want to be? What do I need to do? What don't I need to do? What can I say no to? And what am I a hell yes to?
And on that note, let's go run through a wall. I think the critical piece there, Tim, is analysing everything that you've got on your plate at the minute and asking yourself the simple question, does this still serve me? And if it doesn't, get rid of it. And as Kiani mentioned, it's just it might not be a case of getting rid of it permanently. It might just be a case of just putting it on the subs bench for the now, or, you know, just putting it to one side for now. But then at the same time, if you then go to revisit something and it's not there anymore, then maybe it wasn't supposed to be there anyway, right? So I think a certain degree of, like we've talked about, letting go, I think is really critical. But at the same time, understanding that you're doing it consciously because you're looking at your landscape and you're going, right, I need to go in this direction. What are the tools? What are the bits of my machine that I need in order to be able to navigate that terrain? And what bits of my machine are missing that I need to go find in order to successfully get across from A to B?
Yep, absolutely. In a business sense, I've got a little, I guess, descriptive story to share, because recently we were looking at, you know, would we like to either A, add on an additional service, or B, add on an additional state? And of course, we always want to expand, especially when the demand and the need is there. I'm like, oh, we've got referral partners asking us for this. We've got clients that need this. Like, it's a need for everyone else, right? So yes, you got to do it. And at I sit on a business advisory board, and at our monthly board day, the question was posed, by doing that, are you taking resources out of already established and well-running states to then put their attention into a new, smaller, less likely to get success state for the benefits of you or the client or the bottom line? And that really made me think, because my mentality is like, as you said, we say yes. People want us, we say yes. You know, people need us, we move, we go, we shift, we grow. We do what we need to do to help the clients. And it was really interesting because when we looked at it and went, right, so who do we need to take from here to here to fill here and to make it work? And by doing that, we would have significantly impacted 2 other states that are running super successfully, because we're taking our key players' eyes off the ball to put them to something that is, I wouldn't even say that the state from a success perspective was even like 20% guaranteed success. But because it was flashy and it was exciting and there was a need there, I went, let's do it. Thank God I have the practical brains behind me, because they went, let's actually have a look what needs to happen. So we've decided we're not doing it. And that was a really hard thing for me, because I was like, no, but there's need there. So let's give them what they need. But from a business sense, it's going, do we need it right now? Is it going to be great for the future? Potentially. What's the impact that's going to happen if we do it now before we're ready? And that was not worth it. Absolutely not worth it. So by looking on our past trends in our successful states and projecting future trends in what is currently an unsuccessful state, we were able to determine that, no, that's not right for us right now. We will visit it again in 6 months' time.
I'm having an interesting conversation with a real estate office who works a lot in development sales, and they are getting to the end of their tether with a particular developer who is constantly messing around with land releases and things like that, getting this office to sign up clients to house and land packages, taking 2 years of development, and then doing things like trying to shift them to a different development and trying to invoke sunset clauses and all sorts of stuff, right? So that they can then charge an extra 50, 60 grand per block or whatever it is. And their communication has been shocking. Now, the problem is that this business, this real estate business, has been working with this developer for a number of years. I think we're talking nearly 2 decades. And they've been a constant, steady Eddie money, flow of money for the organization. However, it's getting to the point now where all the staff copping it left, right, and center, getting no support from the developer, getting lots of support from the leadership of that office, but they're sort of rocking a hard place where they've got buyers who've been waiting for 2 years that now don't even know what block they've got, and they've got developers that are saying, well, they can get stuffed, and everyone's sort of pointing the finger at the agents, right? And so we've got this watershed moment where we've got to look at what's been, look at the cost of keeping that client in terms of opportunities, reputation, so on and so forth. But now he's got to make a decision. Like, is this going to serve his organization, this relationship, of course, is this going to serve his organization moving forward? Not just financially speaking, but the cost to benefit ratio of potentially losing some staff because they're just going, fuck this. This is way too difficult. It's not getting any easier. Reputation, shit. All of these buyers are going to end up being homeowners at one point, and right now they've just had this particular organization not messing them around for 2 years because it's not their fault, but that's how they feel. So,
and that's the reality of it. There is always, unfortunately, with every decision we make, there is always a reaction. Like human life, when we make a decision to do something, there's a reaction or there's a cause and effect.
Yep.
And sometimes, and this is part of the process, especially for those of you listening who maybe don't have a team of advisors, these kinds of conversations, find yourself a really great business consultant or talk to people who have similar sized businesses to you or have been through similar situations to you. Sometimes when we're in it, we can't really see beyond or even see that there's options sometimes. So when we're making these kinds of decisions, we have to be considerate of the flow-on effect of that. And in most situations, there are going to be repercussions for that. My scenario is that we now, there's a handful of clients that we can't service, which is heartbreaking, but they are going to get service somewhere else it's good, but we may have lost those clients forever as a result of that. And, in your scenario, Andy, it's a similar situation. There's going to potentially be some staffing issues or some very upset purchases, and there may be some very serious backlash from a credibility perspective for those developers. So I think it is something that, while it is really important to know your boundaries and know when to say no, we need to be fully prepared for potential repercussions when we do make decisions to say no, just as much as we do when we need to say yes.
No, couldn't agree with you more. And I think it's really important that you do get someone that's outside of your goldfish bowl to take a look as well.
I love that, the goldfish bowl. That's exactly what it is. The round glass bowl that just mirrors the same shit back to you.
Yes, pretty much. That you forget that you've been at this point of the goldfish bowl, and then you swim around and it feels like it's new again. Anyway.
Oh my God, that's like you've just described the last 10 years of business.
There you go. There's another episode.
That's the gold in there, gang. The goldfish bowl.
No, but the thing, you need someone to have a look at it from outside because you're so enveloped in it, right? You're so surrounded by it that there's no chance that you would be able to look at things pragmatically. And there has to be someone that can look at the cold hard facts. Now, business coaches can cost an arm and a leg, right? And when we look at the upfront cost of someone like that, we go, "Oh, geez, that hurts." But again, cost to benefit, you look at what they can potentially bring in terms of that external opinion that gives you that sense of greater awareness to allow you to then either let go of bad business in order to open up the capacity to take up more good business. which is
Definitely.
then going to be so much more beneficial in the short, medium, and long term. Because the short term is you get rid of a shit client, for example, and all of a sudden you wake up and you haven't got a headache, right? And that's some of the short term benefits, right?
And a lot of the time too, when you get rid of one shit client that's been taking up all your time, oh, what do you know? There pops 3 new ones who are nowhere near as time consuming and don't demand all of my energy.
Well, you actually feel like shit. All of a sudden, I feel free.
Yeah. The lightness that comes. Yeah.
So, gang,
If anyone does want any recommendations for any professionals at all, whether it is coaches or professional services that we have mentioned in here, Andy and I are always happy to flick out contact details as well. So you're not alone. There's many of you listeners in here that are in similar situations such as us. And there's people out there that are happy to just share knowledge. So once you know what it is that you need, please reach out.
Even if you're not sure what you need, right? Kiani, and that's probably where, if you're not sure what you need, that's where you can reach out to someone, like Key, who can, or me to an extent, but Kiani's network in this space is insane. But you can DM us, and if you're not sure what it is that you could possibly require, then that's where the free part of it could possibly come in. And then you got to understand that, people's time is money. And when they're in a service like consulting and so on and things of that nature, they are selling their time. So be conscious and mindful that you're not taking the piss, right? That you're not just, trying to get as much as you can out of a free phone call and then you don't bother. So just be mindful of that when you are engaging with some of these people. But you've got to take that first step. Like before we hit record on this, right? And I came on the Zoom meeting and I was grumpy. I was really, really grumpy.
Very serious.
Believe it or not, I was grumpy. And the reason why I was grumpy is because there's a lot of people that I speak to in the real estate space who whinge and moan about the same stuff, but then do piss all to actually make a change. You can look back at the things that have caused you problems and caused you hindrances and so on and so forth. But if you ain't prepared to go back and learn some lessons from those things, the same shit will happen again. Like we're talking about at the minute, at this point in time, there's a changing market cycle down here in Australia, right? In the real estate market, where the tide is shifting, rising interest rates, so on and so forth. And the point that I've been trying to make to a lot of these real estate agents is, because invariably there's a bunch of them that have been through one of these cycles before. And I said, right, so what are the challenges of this one, of this changing market? And they'll go through the challenges. I said, okay, so what were the challenges the last time this changing market happened? And they list the same shit. And what about the time before that? And lo and behold, it is the same bollocks again.
It's almost like they just recycle the same list.
Yeah. And I'm like, right. So when are we going to wake up to the fact that we might be looking at the wrong problems?
Yeah. Or we're not doing enough to solve the same problems.
Well, it might have something to do with your customers, for example, right? So it's weird, right? If you actually listen and pay attention to people, they actually give you all the answers. All right, well, they give you most of the answers. So, my argument to the real estate industry, and I would argue that this is probably something that is very much apparent across every industry. Why don't we focus more on solving our customers' problems instead of our own business problems? And then maybe you might not have half the problems that you've got, because invariably our problems come about because we're not able, or our consumers are not doing what we would love them to do in order to keep our doors open and make us money. Yeah. We're doing it from the wrong angle. We're doing it from our angle. How can we get them to do what we want them to do, as opposed to how can we actually solve their problems, paving the way for greater clarity that allows them to move forward, and we are the ones that are helping them do that.
Yeah.
It's just a different concept. Like I said, in the real estate space, we come across the same problems.
Yeah.
And
What's that old saying? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
oh no, I was trying hard to not refer to Einstein again, but
Well,
I was
I'm a fan.
really trying hard not to. But it's so true, and the thing that makes me makes me really passionate about it when we're talking about learning from the past in order to affect our future is that at some stage or another, if you want things to change, then you need to change, and that's life, business, leadership, operation, relationships, anything. It's all well and good looking at your eulogy and then looking at the eulogy in 20 years and going, right, that's what I want to do. But it ain't going to happen unless you start actively making proper changes, not talking about changes, not saying I've got a shift in mindset or any of that sort of nonsense. Your shift in mindset is going to last 5. Why do you think, right, that a lot of you will have gone to events or seminars or webinars or Gary V days or whatever it is, right? And you leave and you're dead inspired for about 48 hours and you've had a real shift in mindset and this is a life-changing moment. It's blah, 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 blah. And then a week later, you're doing the same shit.
Yeah.
Because you're not prepared to make the damn changes.
And you've got to make the changes in your everyday life. You can't remove yourself from your environment, make all of these magical changes and expect it to carry on. It is like going to the gym. It's flexing a muscle. You need to flex that muscle every day. You've got to be dedicated to flexing that muscle. And you've got to know which muscle you need to flex. So you're not going to know that unless you take a look at the past behavior, see how they're currently playing out in your life, decide where you want to change, and then take action. Without the action, nothing will change.
No, and if you don't know the answers, if you don't know which muscles you need to train, get someone that does know.
Or
right?
can it guide you? Awareness awareness can come across as criticism, and a lot of people hear that and feel personally offended by it instead of thinking about it as constructive criticism. Areas where we're blind to. There's so many areas that we don't even know ourselves because we have such innate instincts inside of us and we are behaving instinctually. We can't see that. It's
instinctively, kid.
Thank you. That's right. We'll add that one to the dictionary.
Yeah, we'll put that one in the dictionary.
You could have just pretended like I didn't say it wrong.
Because I copped it. Last time I didn't pull you up for saying a stupid word. I copped it. I copped it from the cheap seats in the UK, and then you'll know exactly who they are as well when I've referred to them as that.
My dictionary of stupid words is growing, so stay tuned.
Yes.
On that note, though, we need to wrap it up. Any parting words?
Parting words: stop fucking about and actually start making a change. Right? If you don't like what's happened up to now, make changes to make it better so that when you do your next look back, you can look back with a lot more happiness.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds really blasé, and there'll be a bunch of people who go, "Well, would you see if you to say blah 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 blah." Bollocks. We don't have to make massive changes. We can just make little 1% incremental changes, little ones. Start with little tiny ones, because if you make a change, it's a change. Doesn't matter how big or small it is. It's going to alter your trajectory a little bit, at least. Yeah. So stop finding excuses.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Wise words from Andy right there. Thank you very much, gang. It's always amazing for us to be able to come and rant to you. So please, as Andy said, DM us if you've got any questions, recommendations, need any assistance in finding the right person to speak to, or even just wanting to have a chat. So thank you all. Stay well, stay happy, stay healthy.
God, that's so wrong.
Damn it. I tried, all right? I tried.
It was a good effort. It was a good effort. You got it so wrong. Stay safe, healthy, happy, team. We'll speak to you again real soon.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us. We are very grateful for your time and we really hope that we've provided some value.
Follow us on Instagram if you've liked what you've heard, and if you have anything that you want us to talk about, things that might have been bugging you but you've not quite had the bottle to really bring it out into the open, send us a DM and we'll happily bring it to the table.